Well, back now to Obamacare and how Americans feel about the law in November could very well determine the balance of power in Washington. So say some analysts. Republicans are campaigning hard against the president's signature law in a bid to recapture the Senate. But two top political analysts who usually don't agree on much about anything both say that the GOP strategy of simply repealing the law may backfire. Take a listen.
This law is working, and I think the Republican playbook of just repeal Obamacare, repeal Obamacare, repeal Obamacare gets tougher as more and more people get health care.
I totally agree. If Republicans simply, and I've looked at a lot of polling over the last week or two on this, some of it private polling, good polling, I think. If Republicans simply say, get rid of it, and let Democrats have the keep it and fix it position, then even then it's sort of 50-50, but then I think Democrats neutralize the issue. If Republicans run on repeal and replace, or really let's say replace and repeal, it has to be done at once. You can't just throw people out. But we are going to give you tax credits. We're going to take care of pre-existing conditions as part of the repeal. Then the polling shows that becomes very, very popular.
Joining me now, South Carolina Republican Senator Lindsey Graham with his thoughts on this. Senator Graham, nice to have you in studio.
Glad to be with you.
Where do you fall on the sides of the repeal it or replace it debate?
Well, I think we need to repeal it and we need to replace it. So I fall in the camp of doing both. I think it's good for the Republican Party to have a plan of its own that could ensure Americans without having to lose your doctor and bankrupt the country. I think it's possible to reform health care without destroying the economy and destroying your ability to stay with your doctor in your hospital.
What is the plan?
Well, to me, let's start with the idea that pre-existing illnesses should not deny you coverage. That means you're going to have pools for the really sick. But why would you want to deny somebody insurance because they got sick? Allowing children to stay on the policies up to their 26 makes sense given this economy. And buying policies across state lines makes a lot of sense to me. Rather than being limited to the South Carolina market, if I can find an insurance policy for my business or family in California, why shouldn't I be able to buy it?
Some of the points that you mentioned are the fixes that are suggested by senators that are Democrats. They're proposing these fixes. Senators Landrieu, Senators King among them. Will you support those fixes?
The problem is they want to leave in place Obamacare. The worst is yet to come. When the employer mandate hits, companies all over this country are going to drop coverage on their employees. It'll be cheaper to pay the fine than it will be to cover the employees. The goal of Obamacare is not to deal with the 30 million uninsured. Of the 6 million who've signed up, about a fourth of them were people who did not have insurance. Most of the people signing up are people who lost their insurance in the private sector and having to sign up for the exchanges. So the worst is yet to come. So to my Democratic colleagues, you can't repair this monstrosity. You got to tear it down and start all over again.
How do you get to that point, though?
When they lose elections.
And do you think that's the key, that the Republicans have to take the Senate, and from that point you can have a different strategy?
Yeah, the ones who survive in 2016 or up in 2016 are going to have a different attitude. Obama will never run again. But once we take the Senate, and the reason we're going to take the Senate is not because the Republican Party has just become favorable, it's because the Democratic Party overreached. And basically, this is a trust issue. Obamacare is so complex, nobody understands how it works. We've had millions of waivers. The individual mandate has basically been eroded. There are not 5 people in the country that can tell you what's left of Obamacare. People don't trust this administration to be honest about Obamacare.
Well, that's swirling. And let me ask you about that, because you say that they don't trust this administration.
They will lie to you.
Well, your colleague, Senator Barrasso, says that the White House is actually fixing the books.
Totally they are.
You agree with that?
Yeah, they're not.
Do you have any facts to back that up?
Well, number one, tell me how many people who signed up for Obamacare have paid. It's not the numbers of people that sign up. It's how many people have signed up and paid their premiums. How many people have signed up for Obamacare that were previously uninsured? The goal of Obamacare was give the uninsured insurance coverage. About 1 in 4 fall in that category. Most people have lost their coverage, had to change their doctor to go into Obamacare. That's not what was promised.
So what about getting those numbers and I mean, that's something that we, of course, are asking for. We're being told that it's not available. That question is also being asked in congressional testimony.
How can it not be available when somebody signs up?
But what do we do if it's still not available at this point? How do we get that information?
Well, I think you make Freedom of Information Act request. We have hearings. If we had the Senate and the House, we'd have hearings about what's really going on. The House is the only body we control. If I were the leader of the House, I would have an Obamacare hearing almost every other day to find out what's in these numbers.
So let me get a little bit further on that.
Sure.
Of the 6 million that we're being told to sign up,
Right.
when you say that you believe that the White House is fixing the book, do you not believe that number at all? That 6 million
I
or
don't
7
know.
million or whatever we might
6
get?
million, I don't know what signing up means. I know this. You were promised if you like your doctor, you can keep it. You were promised if you like your health care policy, you can keep it. What I'm saying about the numbers is that they can't tell you the basics about the numbers. How many were previously uninsured that now have insurance?
Well, why do you think
How many people have paid?
Well, why
that
do you
have
think
signed
that
up?
Republicans can put together a better plan to get the trust back in government? What are Republicans putting out there that says to the American people, no, you can trust us. If you don't trust what's happening now, no, trust us.
I think the first thing we got to explain to the public, the Democrats who want to fix Obamacare have a political problem. You can't fix Obamacare. You got to start over. You can take some elements I just described and build a new health care plan. Obamacare
Why hasn't that been done yet, Senator Graham? Why hasn't a full proposal of a completely different plan from the GOP been developed, put out to the press for us to look at and really dig into?
I hope that comes, but at the end of the day, we're trying to implement a law that's just failing America on multiple fronts. So I'm in the camp of explaining to the American people that when a Democrat tells you he wants to mend it, not end it, it can't be mended. If you have 48 employees, would you hire 3 more? No, because the mandate would apply to your workforce. So people are not going to expand their business. If you make $46,000 a year, you get a subsidy. If you make $48,000 a year, you would lose a subsidy, so you wouldn't take a promotion. So the incentives in Obamacare, if you work 29 hours a week as an employee, you're not covered. If you work 40 hours, you are.
It's hard to follow, though, even in what you're saying. I mean, I understand and I appreciate
Here's
what you're
what's
putting
not
out there.
hard
But
to follow.
Well, but why? But getting back to the question, we're going to have to run.
Yeah.
What is preventing the Republicans from putting forward a real plan that everybody can look at even before November? Is it simply the election and political pressure that's not allowing that to happen? Are you waiting for the change in the Senate?
I think we should have an outline of a health care plan that would be better for America. I think that would help the Republican Party. But between now and then, our Democratic friends are trying to sell the American people, you can fix this Obamacare. It can't be fixed. It's got to be torn down and start over.
Senator Graham, nice to have you in studio.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. John?